What if today was the last ordinary day you allowed yourself to live without growing? Think about that for a moment. Imagine looking back on this very day years from now, realizing you let it slip by, wasted, because you convinced yourself that growth could wait until tomorrow. That thought alone can sting, because deep down you know the truth. Time doesn't wait, life doesn't pause, every second is either moving you closer to the person you want to become or further away. There is no in between. Growth is not just a luxury, it is survival. If you are not evolving, you are slowly decaying. If you are not moving forward, you are silently slipping backward. The world around you is changing at lightning speed. Your mind, your body, your opportunities, even the people in your life, they are all shifting. And if you are standing still, clinging to comfort, you are not staying safe, you are being left behind. That's the harsh reality most people ignore until it's too late. But here's the beauty hidden in that truth. You still have today. Right now, this very moment, you have the power to choose differently. You can decide that this will not be another wasted day. You can take ownership of your growth, no matter how small the step may seem, because the person who chooses to grow today gains something that comfort can never give: pride, strength, and momentum. And momentum is everything. Think of the times you felt alive, when you pushed yourself beyond your limits. Maybe it was finishing a workout you thought was impossible. Maybe it was staying up late to learn something new. Maybe it was standing up for yourself when your voice used to stay silent. Those moments of growth didn't just change what you did, they changed how you saw yourself. Growth rewires your identity. It tells your brain, I am capable, I am strong, I am more than I was yesterday. That's why growth matters. It reshapes the way you see your worth. And if you ignore it, the cost is brutal. It's regret. Not the sharp, temporary sting of discipline, but the slow, suffocating ache of knowing you could have done more, could have been more, but chose not to. Regret doesn't just hurt, it eats away at your spirit, making you question everything about yourself. That is the price of avoiding growth, and it's far heavier than the temporary discomfort of taking action today. Ask yourself, what are you running from? Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of effort? The truth is, the pain of staying stuck is worse than the pain of moving forward, because at least forward gives you hope. At least forward gives you progress. At least forward gives you a future. Staying the same offers you nothing but the illusion of safety, and illusions never last. That's why growth has to be non-negotiable. Not something you do when you feel inspired. Not something you chase when life gets easy. Growth has to become who you are, an everyday choice, not because it's convenient, but because it's necessary. Because if you don't fight for your growth, no one else will. If you don't demand more from yourself, the world will demand less. And slowly, without realizing it, you'll start living smaller than you were meant to. But you are not meant to live small. You are not meant to shrink, to hide, to settle. You are meant to expand, to stretch beyond what you thought possible, to walk into rooms where your old self wouldn't dare, to take risks that scare you, not because they guarantee success, but because they guarantee evolution. That is what it means to grow. So here is the choice standing in front of you right now. You can let this day pass, another page turned in the book of your life without anything written on it. Or you can claim it. You can decide that today is not wasted, today is invested. You can make the bold decision that no matter what happens, you will take at least one step forward. Because growth doesn't demand perfection, it demands intention. And intention, repeated daily, builds a life you will never regret. And that is the reward waiting for you if you choose to stay with this message until the very end. The deeper you understand the power of daily growth, the more impossible it becomes to waste another day. You will no longer drift, you will no longer wait, you will no longer make excuses. Instead, you will start to rise, not someday, not when it feels right, but now, because this is the moment your future self is begging you not to ignore. Grow yourself today, and you will thank yourself forever. Grow yourself today, and the world will never look the same again. Growth does not begin with giant leaps. It begins with the smallest, almost invisible steps that compound over time into something unstoppable. Too often, people wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, or the perfect opportunity, forgetting that greatness is born from the ordinary choices we make daily. One extra page read, one extra repetition done, one extra moment of discipline when the mind screams to quit. That is where transformation lives. It's never about doing everything at once. It's about doing something consistently. The human brain is wired to crave progress. It releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical, every time you take a step forward. But here's the key. Your brain doesn't care how small that step is. It only cares that you moved. That's why a single push-up can spark momentum. why 5 minutes of learning can ignite curiosity, why writing one sentence can break the wall of procrastination. Small steps trick your mind into believing change is possible, and once that belief takes hold, momentum begins to carry you forward. Most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they overwhelm themselves. They look at the mountain of who they want to become, and instead of climbing one step at a time, they freeze at the bottom, paralyzed by the size of the journey. The secret is realizing that mountains are conquered the same way sidewalks are crossed, one step at a time. And the more steps you take, the easier they become because progress multiplies itself. What feels heavy today becomes light tomorrow, and what feels impossible this month becomes effortless next month. Think about how water shapes stone. Not by force, but by consistency. Drop by drop, day after day, water wears down even the hardest rock. Your daily habits are that water. They might not seem powerful in the moment, but given time, they carve out strength, wisdom, and resilience that nothing can break. Every day you choose discipline, every day you choose growth, you are carving your future. The results may not be visible today, but they are inevitable. The danger lies in underestimating small steps. Skipping one workout feels harmless. Ignoring one promise to yourself feels like nothing. But those moments compound as well, and they don't just steal progress, they erode self-trust. Every time you break a small commitment, your mind records it, and soon you start to believe the lie that you can't change. On the other hand, when you honor even the tiniest commitments, your brain records that too. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. That identity is the seed of unstoppable growth. This is why growth is never about intensity, it's about consistency. Anyone can give effort for a day, but few can give effort every day. Yet the ones who can are the ones who change their lives. Imagine the compound effect of just 1% improvement each day. 1% may seem like nothing, but stacked over weeks, months, and years, it becomes exponential. It becomes power. It becomes mastery. That is how ordinary people rise to extraordinary heights, through daily, relentless, small improvements. And let's be clear, small doesn't mean insignificant. Small is strategic. Small keeps your excuses silent. Small keeps the process manageable. Small builds momentum without overwhelming you. And once momentum is alive, it becomes difficult to stop. That is why you must never underestimate the choice to simply begin, no matter how small the action is. Starting small does not mean thinking small. It means respecting the process of growth enough to honor it one step at a time. There will always be days when your energy is low, when motivation fades, when the weight of life presses down. On those days, you may not be able to give your best, but you can still give something, and something, no matter how small, keeps the fire alive. A single spark can stop the darkness from taking over. That is why discipline must become stronger than mood. Mood is temporary, but the impact of your daily actions is permanent. Ask yourself, what is one small thing you can do today that your future self will thank you for? Not next week, not when life slows down, not when inspiration strikes, but today. Read one page, write one idea, take one step, because when you do, you'll feel something shift inside. A quiet pride, a subtle power, a voice whispering that you are becoming more than you were yesterday. That voice grows louder with every action, until one day it drowns out doubt entirely. The truth is, nothing changes until you do. And change doesn't require dramatic acts, it requires consistent acts, day after day, choice after choice, promise after promise. That is the path of growth. That is the path to becoming unrecognizable to your former self. And the beautiful part is, you don't have to wait years to feel it. You will feel it today, because progress, no matter how small, is still progress. And progress is the most powerful fuel for the human spirit. So take that step, whatever it looks like, however small it seems. Because the person who takes one small step today is already further ahead than the person still waiting for the perfect time. And the truth is, the perfect time will never come. The only perfect time is the one you're living in right now. Grow today, even just a little, and you will set in motion a chain of victories that tomorrow will multiply. Would you like me to continue straight into the next section with the same momentum so it becomes one seamless speech? Or do you prefer I pause here so you can use this part individually? Every choice you make carries a cost. Every action or inaction comes with a price tag attached to it. You are either paying with the discomfort of discipline or with the weight of regret. And the difference between the two is monumental. Discipline may sting for a moment, but regret lingers for a lifetime. Discipline demands effort now, but regret steals peace later. When you truly understand this contrast, you begin to see that the pain of growth is not something to avoid, it is something to embrace. Because compared to the heaviness of regret, discipline is light, The truth is, growth hurts. It stretches you, it pulls you beyond what feels comfortable, and it challenges the very limits of who you think you are. That resistance is not a sign of weakness, it's proof that you're moving forward. Muscles only grow when they are torn and rebuilt stronger. Minds only sharpen when they are challenged and forced to adapt. Your spirit only expands when you refuse to settle. Growth and discomfort are inseparable, and the moment you accept that truth, you free yourself from the illusion that progress should feel easy. Think of the times you avoided discomfort in the past. You skipped the workout because it felt too hard. You stayed silent instead of speaking your truth because it felt safer. You delayed chasing a dream because failure seemed too risky. At the time, those choices felt like relief, but what did they leave behind? Guilt, shame, regret. That's the trap. What feels easy now often becomes the very weight that chains you later. And what feels heavy now often becomes the strength that frees you later. Every day, life places the same question before you. Do you choose the temporary discomfort of growth or the long-term ache of regret? The path of growth may demand sweat, sacrifice, and even tears, but it rewards you with self-respect. It gives you confidence that no one can take away because it's built from within. It allows you to look in the mirror and say, I showed up. I didn't quit. I did what I said I would do. That sense of pride is priceless, and it only comes from discipline. Regret, on the other hand, is merciless. It doesn't just whisper, it haunts. It shows up when opportunities pass you by, when years slip through your hands, when you realize you became a prisoner of your own comfort. Regret steals not only your dreams, but also your peace, because it constantly reminds you of what you could have been. And the cruel part is that once regret takes hold, it is almost impossible to escape. You cannot undo the past, but you can stop it from becoming your future by choosing differently today. Understand this, discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. Every time you choose discipline, you are proving to yourself that your future matters more than your mood. You are showing your mind that you are in control, not your excuses. And when you live this way, discipline becomes less about restriction and more about freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from weakness, freedom from the endless cycle of starting over again and again. Discipline doesn't cage you, it unlocks you. The world is filled with people who wanted to grow but never did, because they chose comfort. Don't be one of them. Don't let your story become another reminder of wasted potential. You don't need more chances, more time, or more motivation. You need courage. The courage to face the pain of discipline today so that you never have to taste the bitterness of regret tomorrow. And here's the paradox. Once you lean into discipline, once you stop running from it, it becomes easier. The very thing you feared transforms into strength. Waking up early, pushing through resistance, staying committed, what once felt like struggle begins to feel like power. And that power compounds. The pain that once scared you becomes the fire that fuels you. So ask yourself right now, which pain are you willing to carry? The sharp, short-lived sting of discipline or the heavy, unending burden of regret? Because one will shape you and the other will break you. One will build your future and the other will bury your dreams. The choice is always yours, but so are the consequences. Do not wait until regret teaches you what discipline could have given you freely. Decide now that your life is worth the discomfort, that your dreams are worth the sacrifice, that your growth is worth the fight. Because the pain you feel today from discipline is nothing compared to the pride you will feel tomorrow from progress. And pride, earned through growth, is the most powerful reward a human being can experience. Your future self is already watching you. That version of you, the stronger, wiser, fulfilled version, is waiting to see if you will rise or shrink, if you will step forward into growth or step back into regret. Remember this, every small act of discipline plants a seed that tomorrow will harvest into strength, success, and freedom. Don't let that harvest die before it even begins. Grow through discipline. Protect yourself from regret, because the greatest pain is not trying and failing, it's failing to try. And when you choose growth, when you choose discipline, you never lose. You either win or you learn, but you never live with regret. Growth is not just about what you do, it's about who you decide to become. Discipline alone can push you forward, but true transformation begins when your identity shifts. Because the most powerful force in human behavior is the need to stay consistent with who we believe we are. If you see yourself as weak, every action will reinforce weakness. If you see yourself as a procrastinator, you will always find excuses. But the moment you shift your identity and declare, I am someone who grows, I am someone who shows up, I am someone who honors my future, everything changes. Your actions begin to align with your new identity, and growth becomes natural rather than forced. Think about it. Every habit you've ever had was born from identity. A smoker doesn't just light a cigarette, they tell themselves, I am a smoker. A runner doesn't just lace up shoes, they tell themselves, I am a runner. Identity drives behavior, and behavior reinforces identity. That's why real change doesn't stick when you only focus on goals. Goals are about what you want. Identity is about who you are. When you change who you are at the core, the habits follow. Instead of saying, I want to be more disciplined, begin saying, I am a disciplined person. Instead of saying, I want to grow every day, declare, I am someone who grows every day. This is not empty affirmation, it's a rewiring of your self-image. The human brain craves alignment. When your actions and identity don't match, it creates discomfort, and the brain will push you to fix that gap, either by changing your identity to match your weak actions or by changing your actions to match your powerful identity. Choose the latter, and you'll feel the shift. This is the secret of lasting growth. When growth becomes your identity, it stops being a question of, should I, and becomes a statement of, this is who I am. There is no debate. You no longer ask if you should wake up early, push yourself harder, or learn something new. You simply do it because it is consistent with who you are. And consistency is where greatness is built. But identity doesn't change overnight. It's built through repeated evidence. Every time you take a small step of growth, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Every page read is a vote. Every rep completed is a vote. Every moment of discipline is a vote. At first, the votes feel small, almost meaningless. But over time, they stack, and the evidence becomes undeniable. You stop trying to convince yourself. You know who you are because you've proven it to yourself. And this is why growth feels so liberating. It's not just about results, it's about integrity with yourself. It's about keeping promises you once broke. It's about rewriting the story you've told yourself. For years, it's about stepping into an identity that finally matches the potential you've always felt inside. That is the power of identity-based growth. It doesn't just transform your habits, it transforms your sense of self. Yet many people sabotage themselves because they cling to old labels. They define themselves by their past, by their mistakes, by their failures. They say, I'm lazy, I'm inconsistent, I'm not disciplined. And because that identity feels familiar, they keep repeating it. But you are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your weakest moments. You are what you repeatedly choose to become starting now. The past may explain you, but it does not define you. So stop waiting for proof from others. Stop waiting for validation. Stop waiting for someone to call you disciplined, strong, or worthy. Begin to call yourself that first, and then live it into existence. Because the only permission you need to grow is your own. There is unimaginable power in declaring, I am someone who grows every day. That single statement can shift the way you approach life. Suddenly, challenges are no longer threats. They are opportunities to prove your identity. Failures are no longer the end. They are lessons that sharpen your identity. Discipline is no longer a burden. It is the practice of becoming who you already claim to be. And here's the greatest gift. Once growth becomes your identity, you inspire others without even trying. People around you begin to see the change, and without a single word, you give them permission to rise as well. Growth spreads because people don't just follow advice, they follow example. And when your identity radiates strength, discipline, and consistency, it awakens those qualities in others. So claim it, own it, stop speaking like growth is optional and start living like it's who you are. Every time you act in alignment with that identity, you become unshakable. You stop fighting with yourself, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You simply live the life of someone who grows. And from that identity, there are no limits, only endless expansion. Who you were yesterday does not matter. Who you decide to be today changes everything. And once you decide to be the person who grows daily, you will look back one day and realize the version of you that once doubted, once delayed, once avoided growth, no longer exists. You will have buried that old identity beneath layers of strength, courage, and consistency. And in its place will stand the real you, the one who chose growth every single day. There comes a moment when identity is no longer enough by itself. It must be activated through action. You can know who you are, you can declare it with conviction, but if you don't move, if you don't act, the identity fades into nothing. Growth is always tested in the present moment, never in the future. The future is only a projection, the present is the battlefield. And the choice you make right now determines everything. That's why urgency matters. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when circumstances align. The only time that belongs to you is now. Too many people waste their lives waiting for the right moment, never realizing that the right moment is created, not discovered. Action creates clarity, Action creates momentum, action creates opportunity. Without it, even the strongest identity remains dormant potential. The greatest tragedy is not failure, it is hesitation. It is the wasted years spent on the sidelines convincing yourself you'll start later. Later becomes tomorrow, tomorrow becomes next week. And before you know it, entire seasons of your life are gone, filled with unrealized potential. The clock does not stop because you are uncertain. Time is passing regardless. And if you are not using it to grow, it is using you to decay. This is where urgency becomes your greatest weapon. When you realize that every moment you delay is a moment you will never get back, excuses begin to lose their power. When you truly grasp that you are one decision away from changing your trajectory, hesitation becomes unacceptable. Because the truth is, most people are not defeated by lack of opportunity, but by lack of urgency. They wait for signs instead of creating them. They wait for motivation instead of acting their way into it. And in that waiting, their future slips away. But urgency is not panic, it's power. It's the clear understanding that every day holds within it a chance to shape your destiny. Urgency says, I will not waste today, because I will never see this day again. Urgency pulls you out of procrastination and places you firmly in the now, where growth actually happens. It sharpens your focus, because when you know time is limited, you stop giving energy to distractions and start feeding what truly matters. This is why the smallest action taken today outweighs the perfect plan for tomorrow. Reading one page today is better than planning to read 100 later. Taking one step today is better than fantasizing about running a marathon someday. Writing one line today is better than dreaming about writing a book. The moment you move, even in the tiniest way, you prove to yourself that growth is not a theory, it is happening. And that proof ignites belief. The mind loves completion. Every action you take gives your brain a sense of progress, and that progress releases the energy to keep going. This is how urgency multiplies itself. When you act today, you feel stronger tomorrow. When you hesitate today, you feel weaker tomorrow. Momentum is always being built. It is either momentum forward or momentum backward. Every choice feeds one or the other. And here is the truth most people don't want to face. The gap between the life you have and the life you want is not talent, not luck, not resources. It's urgency. It's the difference between those who say one day and those who say day one. The ones who win are not the ones who wait. They are the ones who begin, even when they feel unprepared, even when it's messy, even when fear screams at them to hold back. They begin because they understand that beginning is the hardest part, and once they cross that line, the rest begins to unfold. Imagine looking back a year from now. Imagine realizing that you used each day as a chance to grow, that you didn't waste your time waiting, that you acted with urgency. Where would you be? Who would you have become? That vision is not fantasy, it's a guarantee if you choose urgency now. Because daily urgency compounded over time becomes unstoppable progress. But if you let this day slip, if you convince yourself that later is fine, you will look back and realize that nothing has changed. You will be the same or worse, and regret will sit heavy on your shoulders. You will wonder why you didn't start, why you didn't move, why you wasted the time you can never reclaim. That is the danger of ignoring urgency. It doesn't just steal your dreams, it steals your peace. So let this be the moment you stop waiting. Let this be the moment you act. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, but now. Growth doesn't ask if you're ready, it asks if you're willing. And the only way to prove your willingness is through action today. Take the smallest step, write it down, do it now. That simple act may seem small, but it carries the power to shift the entire course of your life. Because urgency is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. And the longer you wait to cross it, the further away your future drifts. Grow yourself today, not someday, because someday is an illusion, but today is real. And the one who acts today owns tomorrow. Growth is not something you chase once in a while. It must become the standard you live by. When you make daily growth non-negotiable, you stop waiting for breakthroughs and start creating them. You stop hoping for change and begin becoming the change. Every single day becomes an opportunity to invest in yourself, to build your character, to sharpen your skills, and to strengthen your mind. And when you live this way, you no longer drift, you rise with purpose. The truth is, life will never hand you the person you want to become. You have to build that version of yourself with consistent choices. Every day is like a blank page, and the actions you take write the story of who you are. Some people waste their pages with excuses, distractions, and hesitation. Others fill their pages with discipline, courage, and growth. And in the end, the book you hold in your hands will be written by the choices you made daily, not the dreams you spoke about. That's why commitment matters more than motivation. Motivation feels good but disappears quickly. Commitment anchors you. Commitment is what pulls you forward on the days you don't feel like moving. It's what keeps you focused when distractions fight for your attention. Growth requires that level of commitment, an unshakable decision that no matter what happens, no matter how you feel, you will keep showing up. Because the moment you treat growth as optional, it becomes the first thing to die when life gets hard. When you commit to growth daily, something remarkable happens. Your standards rise, the things you once tolerated, laziness, procrastination, mediocrity, begin to feel unbearable. You no longer accept less from yourself because your identity and your actions are aligned with something higher, and that higher standard doesn't just shape your behavior, it shapes your reality. You attract opportunities, people, and experiences that match the level you've committed to. Life has a way of rewarding those who refuse to settle. But to live this way, you must stop negotiating with yourself. Stop giving your excuses a seat at the table. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," you weaken your own word. Every time you delay growth, you send a signal to your brain that comfort is more important than your future. And once your brain learns that pattern, it repeats it. That's how people spend years stuck in cycles they hate, because they train their minds to obey excuses instead of commitments. Breaking that cycle requires a new rule. When growth calls, you answer. Not when it's easy, not when you feel like it, always. You don't wait for energy, you create it. You don't wait for the perfect plan, you start with what you have. That shift alone separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Because the truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to drag you into growth. It has to be you. And here's the powerful part: once you prove to yourself that you can show up every day, even in small ways, you build unstoppable confidence. You begin to trust yourself again. You no longer see yourself as someone who quits. You see yourself as someone who follows through. That trust in yourself becomes the foundation of everything else. It's what allows you to set bigger goals, take bigger risks, and rise to bigger challenges. Because you know you will not abandon yourself when things get difficult. Every single step you take today matters more than you realize. Growth is not just about building skills, it's about building self-respect. It's about looking at yourself in the mirror and knowing that you honored your potential, that you didn't waste the gift of this day, that you refuse to let fear, laziness, or excuses dictate your future. That feeling is worth more than anything because it fuels you in ways external rewards never can. And the truth is, the world needs you to grow. Your family needs you to grow. Your future needs you to grow. The people who will one day look up to you, depend on you, and be inspired by you, they need you to rise. When you grow, you don't just change your life, you create ripples that touch the lives of everyone around you. Your strength becomes their encouragement. Your courage becomes their permission. Your example becomes their hope. So don't wait. Don't waste another day drifting through life as if you have an endless supply of tomorrows. You don't. All you have is now, and now is enough. Take ownership of this day. Push yourself one step further than yesterday. Demand more from yourself. Because every day you grow, you build a life that regret cannot touch. And when you look back years from now, you will not just see the victories, you will see the pride of knowing that you lived fully, you lived courageously, and you lived committed to becoming your best self. Growth is not just a choice, growth is your responsibility. And when you take that responsibility seriously, there is no limit to how far you can rise. Every day is a seed, and if you plant it with intention, discipline, and urgency, your future will bloom with strength, success, and fulfillment beyond what you can imagine today. The question is no longer if you will grow. The question is, will you start right now?